Folks, if you'd take your seats, it's 5:30. It's time to start the forum. Before we start the meeting, let's bow our heads in just a moment of silence. Amen. Commissioners, you have seen the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented? I have a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Fouché. Do I have a second? Second from Commissioner Widmer. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry. The agenda is adopted and the floor is open for public comment.
Mayor, I'm going to invite Bill Seaman up to give a...
I've talked to Bill, and I'm going to
okay.
ask him to come last.
Perfect.
So
Okay.
if any of you have comments, Bill's got a rather lengthy presentation, and I want to make sure that all of y'all are heard from before Bill speaks. Okay, nobody's going to say anything tonight or ask any questions? Yes, Wade. Please.
And we're having a community meeting Saturday at 2 o'clock regarding a zoning application we'll be filing with the town. And I'm going to give this to Angie. It's an a Zoom address where someone could. Thank you.
Thank you, Wade. Anyone else? Bill, floor is yours.
Okay, is this close enough? My name is Bill Seaman. We live at 425 Appalachian Way in Montreat. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and commissioners and staff, for giving me the opportunity to share with you about what we call the Flat Creek 2040 project. It's been a wonderful experience for the 11 months, and you've got a tip sheet in front of you that summarizes a lot of our work. I'm not going to read through that document. Rather, I'd like to go to some of the highlights from a meeting we held back in May. We were out of town in June, so this is my first opportunity to be with you. I sort of timed myself for maybe 10 to 12 minutes, and I received a strict admonition from someone who will remain anonymous. If I go past 6 o'clock, I'm cutting you off, buddy, so I will try to be brief. Let's see. Basically, the Flat Creek 2040 project was conceived last summer by 4 of us, and we thought it's probably time to assemble all the scientific information known for Flat Creek that's available, which is not a lot, but it's significant, especially when we compare Flat Creek to most any other watershed in western North Carolina. And I'll come back to that point in a couple of minutes about our creek being a model. It really is in terms of being known in this region for some of the work and activity that's been done. We immediately decided we didn't want to just address Montreat, but Black Mountain, and it's been the most joyous ecumenical experience to sort of cross the boundaries and look at the whole watershed between Black Mountain and Montreat, and we've got a cooperative project going that I'll mention. So with that said, we anticipate going into a second phase in terms of having dropped a stone into the pond with the ripples going out. Now we're going to capture some of those ripples. So to address the handout sheet, basically what I want to do is draw from it and address the aims of our work of Project 2040, talk about the status of Flat Creek in the eye of stakeholders, talk about a little bit about what makes Flat Creek unique regionally, and then the main thing I'd like to do is talk about the remarkable inputs and outcomes we had at our May 9th meeting. So with that said, I'll just call attention to our compilation. This is kind of the encyclopedic treatment of everything known scientifically about Flat Creek and Montreat and Black Mountain. I've given Mayor Tim a couple of copies if anybody's interested in picking one up afterwards. So to begin then, in the rationale section of the one-pager I've handed out, we talk about how important Flat Creek is to people, and in the table you'll see I've indicated the priority given to Flat Creek and stormwater and flooding from a survey of 235 citizens. So Flat Creek is cared for by a lot of people. The attributes of the creek, you know, if you pause for a minute and think about what do you appreciate about Flat Creek? Swimming, trout angling, for at least a couple of you, smiles on your faces. Children's education, swimming, splashing, meditation, and did I mention angling for trout? So it's an important place, and the only technical term I'll use this evening is ecosystem services, which you may be familiar with already, but ecosystem services is a wonderful catch-all term that talks about the benefits and contributions that natural systems make to society, and we've listed some already. So with that said, Flat Creek as a model, not tonight, but at another time, and I can make a copy available, a colleague and I presented a digest of community and stakeholder involvement in Flat Creek to a statewide scientific meeting. And there's where we received some affirmation of the significance of Flat Creek in terms of water quality studies that are ongoing, certainly our stormwater management, the all-access trail that's being constructed, you know, we hope, a variety of studies from college classes and so on and so forth. And I'm going to go through sort of a database with you in a moment, but Flat Creek as a model is significant, and what we're doing with that model is using it to perhaps leverage other funding for the kinds of work we'd like to see done in the future. So that said, as I mentioned, there were 4 of us who organized this meeting. On the back of your handout sheet, I've listed the participants in the workshop, and I've asterisked the names of the other 3 colleagues who helped organize this meeting. But the amazing thing was, as we launched this concept back before and after Hurricane Helene, every person we invited said, yes, I'll come and speak. And it was not just a grudging acceptance, but a real enthusiasm to finally get together for the first time ever to have scientists, managers, technical people all in the same room, including our own Savannah Parish. And if you look at the photo on the back at the lower right corner, some of you recognize Josh Harold, Savannah's counterpart in Black Mountain. And that's a big grin on Josh's face. He was in the middle of budget throes and spent the whole day with us. So I think people really contributed and benefited valuably to the sessions, which I now would get into. This is the heart of today's presentation. As I've mentioned, our aim back in the summer last year was to draw together all the technical information that's known, and then Hurricane Helene came along and sort of gummed up the works in terms of challenging us, how are we going to look at sort of the baseline conditions of the creek and also make some statements about the impact of the storm. And I'm going to try to do that in my bullets here. The bottom line is that historical data on Flat Creek are pretty limited, although we have much more of a database for Flat Creek than just about anywhere else in the region. Worse yet is that data collected after the storm are even more limited, and I only have a few items to share with you there. But the good news is that there are a number of new research endeavors getting underway, partially as a result of our May 9 meeting, to fill in some of the gaps. So we had all disciplines there, and we led off with a historian who told us that 12,000 years ago, Native Americans were in this area. Then we fast forwarded, and in 1796, land speculation by Scots-Irish settlers began, farming in the late 1800s, and then timbering in the early 1900s transformed wooded mountainsides into open spaces and clear-cut slopes. So we're not the only generation to deal with runoff kinds of issues, obviously. The biggest data gaps we have concern the physical and geological conditions in the creek in terms of what kinds of rocks and cobble are in there. So when Helene came down and moved all those boulders, we didn't really have a baseline as to what kind of a pavement was in there. What size are the boulders? What size are the rubble? Where are the trout nesting areas, for example? So there's something that we need to be addressing. Clearly, we've all witnessed the amount of damage and rearrangement of Flat Creek from Helene, so I'll keep going. One of our presentations was entitled Look Backward Angler, and it was very catchy, and a scientist from University of North Carolina, Asheville, had a double session to discuss with us atmospheric rivers. When these huge storms come in, how does water just flow up from the Gulf of Mexico or the Atlantic and just stay and pour and pour and pour? So he had a model running whereby we could kind of see the movement of the storm, where it stopped, and so on and so forth. And he's interested in developing maybe a rain gauge here in Montreat for future research. So we're starting to draw people in from beyond our immediate territory. One of the conclusions, obviously, and you know it well, is you're hearing the phrase that future major rainfall events are going to be wetter and wetter, or the other patterns are going to be drier and drier. So we're looking at extremes, and how are we going to be facing that? And that's part of our aim of the Flat Creek 2040 project. Okay, so with that said, thanks to the Commission's funding of the Montreat Land Care Committee, in 2020, we were able to conduct the first ever study of water quality in Flat Creek. Before that, it was a void. And, you know, obviously, it's sort of a no-brainer. Flat Creek is a very clean, pristine system. Generally, our waters are clear enough to be classified for trout. So there's a turbidity measurement, and we never exceed or rarely exceed the 10-unit measurement. But when we do, you know, when there's a gully wash, or basically we've all seen the mud coffee color in the system, and you know, none of us want to breathe dirty air, so you consider the effect on invertebrates and fishes. So that's something to be looking at. But right now we have generally high quality waters to sustain trout. Okay, so that was a land care study, and a second land care study is just getting underway. So here's where we get some data for the post-Helene period. We've got data from 6 stations along Flat Creek from 2020. Now we're coming in. And the wonderful thing is that land care funding, again, is going here, but we've used the land care funding to leverage funding from a statewide science organization, and we've just tripled the budget. So that's, you know, when you say what benefit do we get out of the land care funding, here's one opportunity that we did. And so with that expanded budget, we're launching the first cooperative study between Montreat and Black Mountain in terms of water quality. And that study is just getting ready to start. It's a so-called citizen science project like we did 5 years ago. And we'll be training volunteer citizens to take water samples, transport them to the laboratory, and we'll be part of a regional network where we'll have the opportunity to compare data. Let's see. As that project starts, we did a little pilot study, and we found a high source of fecal coliform, not in Montreat, but in Black Mountain. Partway down Montreat Road, there's a source being tracked down, basically, by our colleagues. Let's see. Okay. Am I doing okay on time, Mr. Mayor? Okay. Well, that might leave time for question and answer then. Okay, but I'm on page 5 of 6, so we're rolling here. Okay, so animals. Hellbender salamander may be familiar to you as sort of a poster child for quality of water, clean waters. One of our colleagues at Montreat College is a specialist with hellbender ecology, and in flooding between 5 and 10 years ago, the hellbenders were washed out of Flat Creek in Montreat. More recently, last year, he had some evidence of hellbenders starting to make their way back up Flat Creek, and then Hurricane Helene hit. So at this point, he's looking at restoration. You may recall years ago, he put some concrete habitat boxes in Flat Creek, and so now this is kind of a work in progress. He and his students, you may know the name Josh Holbrook. He's our local reptilian and amphibian guy. Macroinvertebrates. To a trout angler, you know hatches of mayflies, for example, but macroinvertebrates in Flat Creek and Montreat seem to have been decimated by Hurricane Helene. My colleague from UNC Asheville, who brings his stream ecology class here in the fall, and this is a one-point sample, but he said last year when they were here, there were 49 individual macroinvertebrate critters in their sample. Came back after Helene in November, and there were 2. So that's maybe a little bit of a red flag, and they'll be coming back to build the database to make it more reliable. But his conclusion was it's a dramatic reduction, and he's an expert. As far as fishes in general go, again, this same college professor, excuse me, their class back in November had been doing fish sampling as part of their training. They collected 8 species of fishes in their samples, brook trout among them, a lot of small fishes, minnows, suckers, and that sort of thing. Before the storm, they had collected 20 species. So again, a remarkable reduction in the number of species, and so basically you call it lower biodiversity. What's nice is to fill the data gaps, we now see this same faculty member engaging in a study of the whole upper Swannanoa River system, looking at fishes, trying to get a feeling for the impact of the storm and what are the recovery potentials. And then we come to brook trout. and as a colleague of mine used to say, 0 is a real number. We don't have data on brook trout, except for maybe what you guys catch, but that's a secret. But in 2007, the Wildlife Resources Commission reintroduced brook trout into upper Flat Creek. And in this booklet, Jake Rash, who authored the paper, and he's a national authority on trout, and he lives here in Montreat, so I'm still trying to get him and Barry Kreisman together, because Barry's got a gleam in his eye about wanting to do things with trout. But as far as we know, those reintroduced brook trout in upper Flat Creek, Montreat, are reproducing, and they're stable. There were concerns when the conference center introduced rainbow trout a few years ago, several years ago now, because of reproduction and then competition of rainbows. But now, as I understand it, the current crop are sterile, non-reproducing. So that covers trout. And then finally, to complement the presentation of scientists in the meeting, Savannah, Josh Harold, and you may know that Black Mountain employs its very own stormwater technician and floodplain administrator, Ann Phillip, and they are getting ready to spend over $300,000 on Flat Creek out of a large grant, and on Flat Creek they'll be doing restoration work as well as debris removal. And so we heard from our town administrators about the challenges of aging pipes, aging culverts, increased soil erosion, and then we also heard about some of the attempts to implement best practices in terms of rain gardens or permeable pavements. And my personal big thing is to retain stormwater on site with appropriate rain barrels, rain gardens, and so on and so forth. Finally, I guess, as far as the database goes, we had a specialist from the state, and one of their environmental educators come, and she did a review for us of the kinds of activities, education-wise, that are being done in Flat Creek. And it's pretty remarkable when you think about the college classes that are here, YMCA groups, public school groups, and so forth. So education really was a theme of the meeting, and Josh Harold himself, I think, was thinking we just need all the help we can get to educate our public about stormwater and floodplain planning generally. So with that said, I'd like to present maybe a half a dozen follow-ups from this meeting because, again, the ripples are spreading out. So we've got a working group that's going to be following up with watershed education, number one. Secondly, the idea came that maybe now we're ready to graduate from Flat Creek to the whole upper Swannanoa Valley in terms of pulling together data and research information and comparing notes. And at the same time drawing in more people. We did this meeting sort of closed session, inviting only the people who had been sort of getting their feet wet in Flat Creek, the biologists and so on and so forth. Now we're ready to bring in some of the nonprofits, Riverlink and the Frenchport Partnership and so forth, and it can kind of expand out in our collaborations. And it was really exciting at the catered lunch we had at our workshop to hear somebody from UNCA talking to somebody from the Land of Sky, exchanging business cards. Well, gee, I could help on that project. I could provide this kind of support. So yeah, we see something nice in progress. As I've mentioned, we're launching the new water quality study, which will be whole Flat Creek, both towns, which is exciting. And then a couple of opportunities, and I'm not sure for whom the opportunities are, but I'll start by mentioning them to the commission here. One is to look at the creek and determine the feasibility of how we can do an environmental damage and recovery assessment for Flat Creek. You know, we well know that we've got the ongoing study of human infrastructure, and we've all seen the bridges and the stream banks that are being repaired. And that's sort of the built structure. The question would be, how do we do a companion assessment of our stream? And I can speak for my three colleagues on the planning committee. I think they're very willing, just pro bono as a public service, to get involved in doing it and advising. Well, how in the world do you assess the stream's damage, and what can you do in terms of restoration? See where we're going. And then finally, there's the opportunity to address and act on questions of storm runoff reduction, impervious surfaces, on-site water retention. So basically what I've presented is kind of the tip of the iceberg of what's come out of Flat Creek 24 project. And as Tim knows, I'm an academic. And the old line I like to use on myself is you ask an academic what time it is, and we tell you how to build a watch. So I hope I've not told you how to build a watch, but I've certainly hopefully given you a sense of what time it is for Flat Creek, and time permitting, questions and discussion.
Are you optimistic?
Yeah, in multiple ways. Optimistic. I could go on at length. I think what really excited me in this meeting, and you know, I won't put Savannah on the spot, but there was an electricity and the chemistry in this room in terms of the Black Mountain stormwater technician talking to the fish biologist from the university, and starting to compare notes and talk about, well, okay, if we're restoring stream bank and stream bed in Black Mountain, who's going to evaluate the effects?
Anyone else have a question?
Not a question, but I just had a comment. Bill, we're so glad you're here. And when I heard you were moving to Montreat, I was thrilled. I knew Bill when he was a professor at the University of Florida. And I thought, what a nice resource to have in town. But I appreciate your willingness to share your expertise, your time, and your energy for such a worthwhile project. So thank you and all the team. And I'm excited for you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you.
Maybe one more question. Anybody? Does anyone out there have a question? Okay. Let me tell you, Bill served on our comprehensive long-range planning committee, which lasted a lot longer than we really planned on, didn't it, Bill? And he was a tremendous resource for us in various areas. But if anybody in Montreat wants to build a rain garden, this is the man they need to talk to, because he can tell you about it and show you how. Thanks, Bill.
And it works, just to follow the plug. All the rain that falls on our driveway and on our roof goes into our underground plumbing system, winds up in the rain garden, and not a drop leaves our property.
Good. Got about 5 minutes. Any comments from the commissioners? Any questions or anything? Anyone up from the audience? Yes, Priscilla?
Do I need to say my name and address? I'm not sure this is on. Is this on? Yeah. Priscilla Hayner, 319 Assembly Drive. I think you mostly were answering the question. I was thinking about the stormwater control issues. And I mean, in addition to hurricane threats, there's just the regular heavy downpours like last night. And you can already see some of, at least I think it was from last night, some of the damage on, for example, on Elizabeth Trail today. And I'm curious how you think Montreat is doing currently in terms of the stormwater control. I mean, of course, there's an ordinance in place and there's a lot of attention to it, but it's hard to assess sort of, are there, I mean, if one takes some of the measures you're suggesting in terms of retention on properties and such, is that going to sort of put us over the edge? Because the water coming down naturally into the gully and then going into the creek is quite hard to manage. I'm just curious how you see that in terms of now and into the future.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's a tough question. And my poor little brain goes to all the facets, but remember before Helene struck, we had those 2 to 3 days of soaking rain, so the ground was saturated. Mm-hmm. So we live just above the switchback of Kitchen Branch. So when the Helene hit and the rain started coming down, Kitchen Branch itself was a torrent. I mean, it overtopped the road, it washed out. There was no human intervention there in terms of driveways or roofs contributing water running off. So, you know, we're facing, what would you call it, natural extremes that are flooding. But then when we pave, put up roofs and so forth, without any kind of sort of remediation, mitigation, then we're really adding to the issue. And you know, one of the things, well, the Blue Earth Consulting, I think, did some work with the town in terms of surveying storm drains and so on and so forth. They could be an excellent resource for follow-on kinds of studies to sort of figure out what's the carrying capacity of Flat Creek in terms of floodwater. That's kind of the million-dollar question that we can't answer right now. And if you read the Blue Earth study, they talked about the limitations of flat land, floodplain basically, because we're in the cove. So part of the issue comes down to new construction, at least, retaining water. And there are some communities in America that are models of people retrofitting their drain pipes and being able to construct sort of mini rain gardens to retain some of the water. You know, I see when we have the rain, I just see water pouring off our neighbors' drain pipes. They don't want it on their land. They don't want it on their driveway. That's in their pipe feeding Appalachian Way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. Time's up. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I have a motion from, who is that? Commissioner Alexander. I have a second? Second from Commissioner, from Mason Dixon. Hey, from Mason. I keep saying Dixon. Anyway, at least I know my history, Mason. Have a motion, have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes carry. Folks, I've got 6. Stand and face the flag. Say together the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pause for a moment before we start our heads. Amen. Commissioners, you've got the agenda in front of you. You've had a chance to peruse it this week. I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Commissioner Blake made a motion. I have a second.
I second.
I have a second from Grant Dasher. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry. My communication this week is I hope everyone enjoyed the 4th. It was a big crowd. I do appreciate everything that staff did, and I'm talking about administrative staff, our entire crew, the police and the maintenance crews that got out and put up barracks and redirected and directed traffic. It was a grand affair. I also had the opportunity this past week, a week ago tonight, to talk to the father of the survivor of our wreck that we had up on Appalachian Way, and she has undergone multiple surgeries. She is very positive. She's coming along. It's going to be a lot more. She's going to have more surgeries and so forth and rehab for a good while. But the outlook for her is long, tedious, but it's positive. Okay. Consent agenda, Savannah, and then your comments.
Yes, so for the consent agenda, we have the adoption of the June 12th public forum meeting minutes and the town council meeting minutes from the same day. For my communications, I just have a quick reminder about the convenience center. We are asking that, and we try to keep people informed about when it's full, when it's closed, when it's opened. We do try to be on top of those communications. But if you drive up to the gate and the gate is closed, or you have received a communication that the convenience center is closed, please do not leave your trash. I know it's frustrating, but it really draws bears to that area. It makes it unsafe for everyone. So please do not leave your trash if the convenience center is not open. I also want to welcome Rich Kaplan, who is our new zoning administrator. He's sitting right there. We're very excited to have Rich and all of his experience. Welcome, Rich. And then I will just echo what the mayor said and thank our public works and police departments for their work over the 4th. They did a great job keeping things running smoothly, and it was very hot and a lot of work for them, but I thank them for doing a great job. That's all I have.
Thanks, Savannah. Commissioners, you have received reports from the administration, planning and zoning, public works and water, sanitation, streets, finance, the June building permits, and the police department. Were there any questions or comments on any of those? Okay. We'll move on then. The floor is open for public comment. Okay. We move on to old business, which we have none. Go to new business. We have FEMA overview and update presentation.
Yes.
Michelle here?
She is. Mrs.
Hey.
Michelle. So Michelle is our consultant with Withers Ravenel. She has been absolutely instrumental in everything we've been able to accomplish so far. She is my personal hero, and truly can't say enough about how much.
Live up to that.
I can't say enough about how much I enjoy working with her, and I'm so excited that she's here tonight. So I'll let her get into her presentation.
Thank you.
Commissioners, you should have a.
Yes, and
Okay.
I have a few additional copies. I don't think I have enough for everyone, but if you guys would like to. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, commissioners, for having me here. And I just have to say, I'm going to echo a little bit about what Savannah said first off. She's been amazing to work with. It's been a joy to be on calls with her every week. I just want you to know that Savannah and Barry are doing an amazing job with everything that we have going on coordinating with FEMA work right now. I was asked to kind of give you guys a brief overview, high-level things of where we're at, and then if you have any questions for me about where we stand with things, I'm happy to try to address as many of those as possible. If I can't tonight, I will certainly take that back, and we'll see what we can find out for you guys. So on that, if you'll look at the first page of this, since we started working with you all back in February, we have submitted the damage inventory to FEMA. We have our PDMG now. I know you guys have gone through 2 PDMGs. Please understand.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. FEMA talks in acronyms. You guys will have to forgive me for that. A PDMG is the Program Delivery Manager. So essentially, they are your grants manager for the federal government. They're the ones who are basically coordinating with us every week and assisting us with getting that damage inventory in to Grants Portal, which is our system that we are using right now. And once we get all of that information in, the most important part is what Savannah and I are doing is trying to coordinate getting any supporting documentation. That might be invoices for work that you all have completed at this point on any of the projects that are currently listed. And at some point, FEMA will phase out, okay? And we will have what we call a recovery transitional meeting. That means they're going to turn everything over to the state of North Carolina. The state of North Carolina emergency management team will then be your liaisons to FEMA, and will coordinate directly with Savannah and, of course, myself for assistance. Now, we are probably within 3 to 4 months of starting to see some of FEMA phasing out. Maybe not for Montreat. We hope that we're getting there. But they did do an extension recently for some of the damage inventory to get. We all know Helene was catastrophic. Just rolling into Asheville today and seeing some of the damages that are still out there and that are still being worked on, I know that this event is going to be a long one. I always tell everyone and preface this by saying, I've worked on 12 federal disasters. It's a marathon. It is not a sprint. As much as I want to see you guys getting the funds quickly, we also want to make sure that you're getting all of the dollars that you should be receiving for this work. That means we have to put in our due diligence and make sure that we're supporting all of that. A lot of what you have is incomplete work. So we're talking about, I heard the bridges come up. We have the culvert project as well. And so if you look at this list in front of you, right now we have 14 active projects. The deadline to submit the damage inventory has already passed for Montreat. However, if there are still damages, I have heard from some FEMA representatives, that's the program delivery managers, working with other clients, that they will take late submittals. So we need to take that into consideration if there are other damages we want to get on the books. But right now, we have quite a bit covered with this, and I'm estimating at this point a little bit over $5.1 million.
Michelle,
Yes,
can
sir.
I ask a question?
Absolutely.
On that original damage inventory,
Mm-hmm.
there were more like 80 some odd projects. I know some of them were combined, like road projects and culvert projects, but that still brought it down to about 60.
Mm-hmm.
Where's that gap between 60 and 14?
That's a very good question. So normally what FEMA does is they call it logically grouping together those projects. So let's say, for example, you have, and the PW on here stands for project worksheet. That's the number that FEMA has assigned to this particular project. That will follow it through the life cycle and close out of the project. So for PW 200 on here for your culvert damages, there are multiple damages listed under that one project. So that's where we come in, where you only have 14 actual projects, but the damages may be multiple underneath each of these projects.
Okay, follow-up question then.
Sure.
And of those 62 at one point, the total damages of those projects before they were consolidated was about $11.5 million. What's the difference? What's the delta between 5.2 million and 11.5 million?
Probably some of that has to do with estimated costs only. And so what you need to know about FEMA is that we can submit for large projects especially, and I think your bridges, possibly your culverts, I'm trying to think of the other one that really stuck out, and the roads, will probably be large projects for the town of Montreat. FEMA has assigned a threshold. They assign a threshold to every one of their events. In this event, that large project threshold is $1,037,000. So anything above and beyond that is a large project, and they base it on actuals and estimated cost. So essentially, what we're going to do is we're going to get to a point where we submit all the paperwork that we can possibly submit to them to try to substantiate what you guys have as far as damages. We will then, they're going to obligate some dollars to you. Basically, they're going to cost it out and say, this is what we think you have at this point. This is what we're going to claim. We can amend what they call version these out at some point if you hire your contractors. You go through the bidding process and you find out, whew, we've gone into this for a year now. We might have gotten proposals for this work that are far lower than they are now. So if we get 6 months to a year down the road, and I hope that we're not going to be talking long term, but I'm just being realistic here. If we get to that point and the actuals are more, then we go to FEMA with that documentation. We submit it through the North Carolina EM grants, which is your financial system that we'll be utilizing. And we say, these costs are far exceeding. We're not doing anything different. The scope of work hasn't changed, but maybe tariffs have caused equipment to come in at a higher rate. Maybe the materials took longer to arrive. We see that with like generators all the time. Sometimes it's like a year lead time right now on generators alone. So if any of that happens, then we go to FEMA with the actual costs. And we say, the town of Montreat is paying these contractors, and this is what the actuals are, and they will version that project out and consider it an overrun. And you guys will still get that. As long as it's an eligible expense, you would still receive that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just, as Tom pointed out, if it was over 10 million, how did it get down? Was it overestimated earlier? Was the plus 10 million, over 10 million, was that an overestimate earlier, and now we've cooked it down to?
Some of it could possibly have been an overestimate, but a lot of this is coming from FEMA figures. FEMA starts throwing in a placeholder until
So
we
these are
start coming
FEMA's
up.
numbers as a,
Yes, a lot of them
Okay.
are. When you go into Grants Portal, it will actually say, this is the best available. That's what they put, best available cost. That's not an actual. That's what they're operating on, is what they call a placeholder, just to try to get us obligated. So we want that word obligated on every one of these listed. That's my goal, is to help you guys get to that point. Because then, even if it's a small project, we can still have working room. But with small projects, they're paying you guys out immediately. So if it's under that $1,037,000, you guys are getting a check right after obligation. If it's over that amount, it's true reimbursement, meaning it's an advancement. So you guys are paying the bills, okay? And then we submit the cost through EM grants, and FEMA says, we approve, and you guys will get your payment at that point. Part of my job is to try to mitigate the risks that you guys have of having large bills. So I would be working with Savannah to say, whenever you get those contractor bills in, let's get them paid, and let's go ahead and submit that invoice through EM grants. So you guys are getting quick reimbursements, and we're not sitting holding on to extravagant invoices.
Sorry for asking so many questions.
No, that's what I'm here for.
For example, tonight, we're going to be acting on a asphalt paving contract, which is about, if I recall, $150,000 or something.
Yes, sir.
Is that a part of PW 196 here? That
Yes.
so they would break that $3 million down into $150,000 chunk that we spend, and then would reimburse us?
So once they obligate for the roads, and if I'm recalling right, I think part of that is the town hall parking lot might be in that
It
proposal
is.
as well. Okay, so it's actually going to be kind of delineated on the invoice, and we would submit it as part of both
I
project,
see.
yeah, 194 and 196. But essentially, once we have that proposal, that's the part where we want to go ahead and submit that to your program delivery manager, who is Michelle Miller with FEMA. And we submit that to her through Grants Portal. She goes on and says, okay, this is the proposal they have right now, and we get some dollars obligated. As they start to do work, whoever that contractor is that you guys decide to move with, once they start to do that work, if something comes up and they need to amend that contract because there's more involved than they first expected, and sometimes that happens, right? They're going to get out there and see that, okay, we gave you a best cost offer, but there's a lot more damage here. There's some things underneath the road that we didn't expect. Then we would say, okay, submit your amendment. Savannah let me know so I can get that in Grants Portal. We're going to tell them we need an amendment on this dollar amount. So we're going to work towards whatever it is that the true costs are to get that for you. I hope that answered the question. Sort of. No. Okay. That's all right. That's all right.
Am I right in thinking that the only project that exceeds the threshold for a large project is the PW 196? So all of these other projects would be considered payable immediately?
I kind of think these numbers, like you said earlier, may be a little low on the spectrum, and that I do kind of feel like not just the roads, but also the culvert damage could potentially be a large project. I know it says 850,000, but we are, Withers Ravenel also has a project agreement out there as well to start A&E services, that's architectural and engineering services, to really dive in and give you guys a true assessment of those culverts, and then also to give you a cost opinion on whether or not there are potential mitigation opportunities there. I know on some of those, after speaking to Barry, who's also been wonderful, there may be some opportunities there that you guys might want to upsize, because given the event that just happened, it might be better for you. There's also the opportunity, if something needs to be raised by codes and standards, that you could also get more money for that as well. So it could potentially put that one above. And then the bridges, I really feel like that's off. But Savannah might know a little bit more about that one. But the bridges, I do kind of anticipate that might also be a large project.
So the determining factor for whether or not it exceeds that threshold is the actual quote that you received. Not what FEMA is saying here, but what it'll be based upon the quotes that we actually receive.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So any other questions on that? Yes, sir.
It's probably not the last one. I'm sorry.
Probably not. That's
But,
okay.
so do these, I'm back to the 80 and then the 62 and now 14. Does this 14 cover everything that was in those original two lists that was consolidated? Or has FEMA thrown anything out? Or
No, FEMA has not thrown anything out. We have we removed a project, which just one that I can think of, which was the police vehicle with the cracked windshield, because it ended up being a wash for us. So FEMA didn't need to be involved with that because the only damage was the cracked windshield. And then also on this list that I think is missing, and it's because we have not started the process of writing the projects with FEMA yet, are some of the mudslides that will also, be submitted also, and stream bank restoration.
Any other questions of Michelle or Savannah?
One.
Kitty?
When you say bridges, are you including the Texas Road Bridge that got washed out?
Yes, ma'am. And the mudslides, to just add really quick if I could, the mudslides and the stream bank restoration, they might put that in, as we were talking about this, they might put that in with the roads, or they may create a separate project for that. But yes, you guys are due for site inspections on those. It's a late site inspection, but they are supposed to be coordinating that.
because those are some of the largest projects.
Yes, agreed.
Okay, Michelle. Any other questions of Michelle? Thank you so much. And we do appreciate you working with Savannah so closely and the rest of our staff.
Thank you all so much.
That's one reason we engaged you guys, was to help us through this.
Anything you need, and if you ever want me to come by and do another update quarterly or whatever, just let me know.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you all.
Item B on the new business is acceptance of round 2 cash flow loan. Savannah?
Yes, so you all recall that we accepted a cash flow loan from the state of North Carolina not too long ago. That was round one of funding. This is round two of, it's the same, coming from the same pot of money, but they were breaking it into 2 rounds. So they have offered us a cash flow loan of $79,654.91. Terms include no interest and a structured repayment schedule, which extends to June 30th of 2030. Our first payment will be $1, and that will be next year.
Questions of Savannah? I'd like to have a motion so we can have discussion if you want to have any.
Can I just get one clarification?
We need a motion to discuss.
I move that we approve the contract for acceptance of round 2 cash flow in the amount of $79,654.91.
Second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Alexander. Discussion.
So what we're seeing here and would be spending here is actually part of the money to do these projects, and it theoretically will be reimbursed.
Exactly, yes. So with this cash flow loan, for instance, and I'm not making any promises here, but this may give us the opportunity to do some additional paving that we might not have been able to get to as quickly. So it's just, it is just a cash flow loan. So we'll pay it back with the money we get from FEMA reimbursements, but it is specifically for recovery projects.
Any other questions of Savannah? Have a motion, have a second. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry. Paving proposals. You and Barry? Savannah and Barry?
I'll take care of it. Barry was really trying to avoid having to speak if he didn't have to. So this is a proposal from C&T Paving totaling $134,465. It includes some critical road segments such as Lookout at Assembly and the Town Hall parking lot improvements. This is not going to be the comprehensive paving project that we wish it was, but I think that it covers some critical intersections in town, and also I think good for all of us, just encouraging to see some progress being made on paving. So this will be the first of many phases of paving projects.
Do I have a motion?
Move approval of the paving project.
I have a motion from Commissioner Blake. Do we have a second?
A second.
Second from Commissioner Dasher. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Ayes carry. Budget amendment number 1. Savannah?
Yes, and I may have Rachel answer questions if you have any, but I'm going to try to explain this. So we have some PAL bill funds that are not appropriated right now, about $130,000 of unappropriated PAL bill funds. And we also have some money in our Fund 29, which is our Hurricane Helene recovery account. So what we would like to do is appropriate $76,700 of PAL bills, PAL bill funds, and then use that PAL bill money towards this paving project that you just approved. So really what we would be doing is splitting the paving project between PAL bill funds and Hurricane Helene Fund 29 recovery funds, just to spread the love a little bit, and it's what PAL bill funds are for, so we have it already sitting in our account. We just need to have it appropriated.
Okay.
Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah, Savannah, just for
Yes.
some in the audience that don't know when we're talking Powell bill, what that is, but aren't those state funds we get from gas tax each year
Yes, that is the
to pay for our
gas
local
tax
road
money.
improvements?
Yes, that PAL bill
Okay.
funds are reimbursements from the state to the town for the gas tax, and they're very restrictive in their use. It's for road improvements. So we do have a little bit that can be used towards paving, which is great.
Have a motion, have a second?
Do you have a motion?
I think so. Do I have a motion for the budget amendment?
You do not.
I'll move to approve the budget amendment number 1 to appropriate Powell bill funds.
I have a motion from Mayor Pro Tem. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Alexander. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nomination and appointment of tree board member. Savannah?
Yes, so as most of you, I'm sure, are aware, of our tree board member, Brad Hester, passed away tragically recently, and we need to fill his seat on the tree board. So we're going to do that tonight, and I know that the tree board has some plans to honor Brad's memory as well, so there will be more information about that soon.
So we don't have a name tonight?
I think they do have someone in mind to nominate.
I would like to nominate
Can
Ashley May.
you
Oh,
use
Your mic.
the language?
Okay, let's get. I move to nominate and then appoint Ashley Manson to serve an unexpired term on the tree board, which expires January 31st, 2028.
Thank you, Commissioner Alexander. Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Blake. All those in favor signify by...
Before you vote, I'm just going to quickly say, it's Ashley, is it Marat or Merritt? Can you help us with our pronunciation, Ashley? You don't have to come up, it's okay.
My legal name is Ashley Manson Marat.
Okay.
However, I would be changing that.
Yeah. Let's go with Ashley Marat for the motion and for the minutes.
M-A-R-R-A-T-T.
Yes.
While we're in discussion at this point,
Yeah.
I would just like to say that Ashley has already been very active working with the tree board, especially with the hemlocks, and she's really helped us. In fact, she's been working with that group. And Mason, do you want to say anything?
Yes, I would just, Ashley really has pitched in and become she's attending our committee meetings, active in the discussion from the floor, and has also took a leadership role under Elizabeth Hamilton in terms of the hemlock treatment. And recently, we had a number, it was 15, I think, trees that had to be an injection. They couldn't be treated, drench treated with the treatment. And I believe Ashley got somebody to basically agree to do the injection on all those trees for nothing. So she's just really been a real plus.
You want to work with us with FEMA? Okay, any further discussion? I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry. F, zoning administrator contract. Savannah?
Yes.
And Brad.
So this will be the contract between the town and Rich Kaplan. Brandon and I did not quite get there on a draft, so we would like to continue making edits. So what we're asking for is that you authorize me and authorize me to enter into the contract with Rich, and we can have Mason involved in helping us make those edits as well.
Is that okay with you, commissioners? Can I get a motion to that effect?
Mr. Mayor, I move to authorize Savannah and Mason to work with Rich Kaplan to approve for the zoning administrator contract.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
I have a second. Commissioner Dasher. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry. Floor is open for public comment. Yes, ma'am.
Mary McPhail Standard, 118 Shenandoah Terrace, full-time Montreat resident and registered voter. The following statement is short and made only after long consideration. It is not given lightly, and I invite you to listen. When a sitting member of the Montreat Town Council chooses to make an unapologetic phone call to a constituent, and that call, while not profane, was vile and verbally abusive, it is time for that individual to resign. No matter their expertise, their hard work, their quick temper and lack of judgment makes them unsuited for leadership. I do not make these statements lightly, and I make them with some degree of distress and sadness. The call is a matter of public record. An email was sent to the individual as well as a written letter. And the call was reported to the town manager and to Mayor Helms. We will always have disagreements. That's the nature of town business. But we must always have civility, and civility from the top is key. Thank you.
When I was informed of this, I was asked to do nothing, correct? It was correct. Anyone else? Okay, that's closed. Commissioners' comments.
I've got one. I know that Barry was asked to be the Grand Marshal of the parade, and he turned it down because he had too much work to do. So then I wrote the mayor, and I said, we need the whole Public Works people out there just marching. They can take, 30 minutes out to march in the parade. And the mayor said, no, they don't want to be recognized. They have too much work to do. And I was in front of the group that had the beautiful idea of having signs with their faces, calling them the Helene Heroes. And when we walked by, I thought maybe it was for the Heritage Center, but all the roar went up for you guys, Barry. I wish you could have been there to hear it. It was very heartwarming. And the whole parade was so much fun. It's been a long, almost 10 months. And to see everybody back in Montreat and the excitement and all the people at our Hokie Parade, it was just wonderful.
Thank you, Kitty. Who else?
I've got a couple comments. Number one, I'd just like to make sure that everybody knows, not just the council, but everybody here and in town, that our own Montreat police officer, Justin Whitson, did a magnificent job today doing a CPR class that he is overqualified to do for us. He is incredibly qualified. He's a teacher at not App State, AP Tech, as well as with the American Heart Association. Has more credentials than you could ever believe, and he had a wonderful teaching session today with 15 Montreaters. And we thank you, Justin, and Jeff, Chief Eaton, for your work. Secondly, Bill Shy was hoping to be here tonight. He was unable to be, and he asked me just to make a remark on his behalf. He was, I'll read a couple excerpts of his email to me. He said, I was at Town Hall helping move mulch into the gardens around the Town Hall building a week or so ago. While I was there, one of the CWS trucks, the company that does our refuse removal and runs the dumpsters, ran into my daughter Mary Lee's car parked in the lot next to Town Hall. He did not know he did it, apparently, and the cameras caught that, and we were able to track it back to CWS. The manager of the area, Robert Peters, was contacted and was extremely helpful. He accepted the situation and told Bill to go out and get the car repaired. He did. Bill says I sent him the bill, and by return mail he had a check sent to me in the full amount. He was a delight to deal with, and Bill says, I think the town council ought to know about the quality and service of this firm, CWS. So that's what Bill wants us to know.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a couple of items. One, I noticed, I hope everybody has noticed the really great new Be Aware of the Bear signs that went up around Montreat. And I would like to thank Kathy Dodson and also Commissioner Woodmer, who were instrumental in getting those signs inspired, designed up, and hopefully effective, and thank them both for that. The other thing, I received a number from various people, one in particular, a number of suggestions about some traffic matters, and had excellent conversations in passing those suggestions along with both Savannah and our and Jeff, our police chief. And Jeff had already been thinking about a number of those items himself. He couldn't be here tonight because he's had some eye surgery recently, but he wanted me to stress that for all you citizens out there, please don't be afraid to call him with suggestions. If you dial the town's regular number, there's a extension 6, and that'll get you, usually because he's not necessarily in the office, with a voicemail message, but he called me back very quickly. I'm sure he'll call you back very quickly. He welcomes getting input from the citizens, and he doesn't mind them going through us, but he wants to be able to talk and communicate with everybody in Montreat directly, and welcomes that opportunity, and so please feel free to do so. That's it.
Anyone else?
Yes, I forgot one.
You've had your turn. Yes, Tom.
This is a good one. There were 2 children, grandchildren of some Montreat cottagers, a little girl by the name of Emma Ann Dudley, and who is 9, and her little brother, Geddes, who is 6, who decided that they wanted to sell lemonade and cookies in front of their house and make some money that they could give to the town for hurricane restoration. They did that on, it was both the 4th of July and the 5th. They made $300. They were brilliant marketers. They did not put a price on the lemonade. They said, any donation that you want. So they made $300, and their father, who had no idea how successful these kids were going to be, told them beforehand, I will match anything. So the town will be getting a check for $600.
Tom, you're making me feel bad because my kids keep all of their money. So, and they make a lot of money on lemonade in Montreat. So.
Anyone else? Years ago, I was sitting in a council meeting in the walk-up building. Hadn't seen a guy in probably 30, 40 years. And he's sitting out there looking at me. And he's out there looking at me again tonight. John Asman's a fraternity brother of mine from the University of South Carolina. And he has a house here. And we visit now yearly. So welcome back, John.
This is a correction. The lady that owns this lady lives with her there.
I didn't want to embarrass you with that. Anyone have anything else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
You want to do the dates?
Oh, no. We publish them. I don't know why we have to say them every month. I'm like Bill Gillen. Can't we get this all in one motion?
I'll do it, Mayor. I got it.
Please,
right here.
go, Savannah.
Okay. P&Z Commission, Thursday, July 17th at 10:30. These will all have Zoom options, so I'm not going to say that each time. Board of Adjustment, Thursday, July 24th at 5 p.m. in Town Hall. Land Care, Wednesday, August 6th at 9 a.m. in Town Hall. Tree Board, Tuesday, August 12th at 9 a.m. in Town Hall. The August Town Council meeting will be Thursday, August 14th. And Board of Adjustment will be Thursday, August 28th at 5 p.m. That is tentative at the moment. That's all we have.
Thank you. Point of order. When Savannah Parrish came with us, she had no disaster or incident experience at all, and she has come through all of this thus far like a true champion. We stand adjourned.